The stadium was deafening. 60,000 people screaming as the clock ticked down. 3 minutes left. Championship game. Everything we had worked for came down to this moment. The ball found me exactly where I was supposed to be. I moved into position, the same play we had practiced 100 times. My eyes locked on Marcus, my teammate, positioned on the right wing. Perfect spacing. I released the pass with confidence, but Marcus suddenly shifted left. Wrong direction. The ball sailed right into the defender's hands. Intercepted. Game over. The roar turned into shocked silence. Then the boos came. Wave after wave of pure hatred washing over me. My legs felt weak. Coach Bryant stormed onto the field, his face twisted with rage. "What were you thinking?" he screamed, grabbing my jersey. I tried to explain, but the words caught in my throat. His eyes told me everything. I was done. Behind him, the giant screen replayed my mistake. Over and over. Each replay made me look worse. More careless. More selfish. The stadium watched my failure on repeat. The locker room was silent, except for the sound of equipment being thrown into bags. No one would look at me. I sat in my corner, still in full gear, trying to understand what had happened. Coach Bryant called everyone together. Then he unleashed. "Selfish," he shouted, pointing directly at me. "Careless. A liability to this entire team." Every word felt like a punch. My teammates stared at the floor. Marcus stood 3 feet away, silent. He had moved wrong. He had to know that, but he said nothing. Not one word in my defense. When Coach finished his speech, I pulled out my phone with shaking hands. Social media was already exploding. Clips of my past were everywhere. The comments were brutal. He cost him everything. Worst play of the season. He choked when it mattered most. Thousands of people I had never met, all convinced I was a failure. My career was over in 60 seconds. Then I saw one comment buried in the thread. Just 7 words that made me stop scrolling. "Wait, that formation looks off." My name is Quincy Brennan, 26 years old. I had been a starter for the Storm for 3 full seasons. Before that night, people knew me as reliable, disciplined, the guy coaches trusted when pressure was highest. I grew up in a small town where football was everything. Earned a scholarship. Worked my way up from practice squad to starter. My parents sat in the same section every home game. My younger brother wore my jersey to school. I was not flashy. I did not trash talk or celebrate too hard. I just played solid, consistent football. My pass completion rate was 87%, highest on the team. Coaches called me their anchor, the player they could count on when everything fell apart. That championship play did not match anything I had ever done. It went against every instinct I had developed over years of training. Deep in my chest, I knew something was wrong. That was not just a bad play. It was not nerves or poor judgment. Something else had happened on that field. I grabbed my laptop and pulled up the game footage, the official broadcast. I watched the play once, twice, 3 times. Then I paused on a single frame. Marcus was moving before I released the ball. His eyes were not on me. They were looking somewhere else. My stomach dropped. I went through the footage frame by frame, slowing down every second. Marcus shifted his position exactly 1 second before I passed. Not a reaction, not a misread. His movement was too precise, too deliberate. He moved left when the play called for him to stay right. But the timing was perfect, designed to make me look like I had thrown a blind pass. My hands started shaking as I watched it again. Marcus knew exactly when I would release the ball. He had positioned himself to ensure the interception. This was not a mistake. This was intentional. Someone had set me up. But why? I sat back in my chair, my mind racing through the past few weeks. Then something clicked, a memory from practice the week before the championship. Marcus had questioned the play design in front of everyone. There had been tension. Coach Bryant had pulled him aside. They had exchanged a look I had not understood at the time. Now it felt different, coordinated, planned. I grabbed my phone and opened the team chat. I scrolled back through weeks of messages, team announcements, practice schedules, play discussions. Then I found what I was looking for, the thread about that specific play. We had debated it for days. Coach Brian had been firm about the positioning. Marcus had pushed back hard. There had been at least 20 messages in that conversation. I remembered reading them. But now, when I scrolled to that date, the entire thread was gone. Deleted. Completely erased from the chat history. My heart started pounding. Why would someone delete that discussion? Unless it proved something. Unless it showed that Marcus knew exactly how the play was supposed to work. Unless it revealed they had planned something different. I checked the date. The thread had been deleted 2 days after the championship. Someone had gone back and removed the evidence. My suspicion hardened into certainty. This was not paranoia. This was real. Then I remembered something that made me smile for the first time in days. I had taken a screenshot during that argument. I always did when discussions got heated, just in case. I found the screenshot buried in my photo library. There it was, the full conversation about play positioning. Marcus had written, "What if we altered positioning last minute? Keep them guessing." Coach Brian had responded, "Not approved. Stick to the plan." But then there was a private message visible at the top of my screen. Marcus to Coach Bryant. Just a preview of the first line. "We should talk about this offline." My heart raced. They had taken the discussion private, away from the team chat, away from any record. This was not just Marcus going rogue. Coach Bryant was involved. They had coordinated something. But I still did not understand why. What did they gain by making me fail? I stared at that screenshot for an hour, trying to piece it together. Then the next game lineup was posted. My hands went numb when I saw it. I was benched, completely removed from the starting roster. And Marcus? He was promoted to my exact position. The new starter. The new leader. The media release went out immediately. Fresh energy. New leadership. Moving forward. It was all happening too fast. Too smoothly. The narrative flipped overnight. Sports shows that had destroyed me for days suddenly had a new story. Marcus was the future. Young. Talented. Ready to lead. My name was barely mentioned anymore. When it was, the word former came before it. Former starter. Former leader. Former player they could trust. I watched Marcus give interviews with the same smile he used to give me in practice. He talked about learning from mistakes and team accountability. He never mentioned my name. Never defended me. The promotion had been planned. That realization hit me like ice water. They needed me to fail publicly so Marcus could take my position without question. One spectacular mistake that would justify everything. I could not sleep that night. My mind kept replaying every interaction with Coach Bryant and Marcus over the past month. How many conversations had I missed? How many signals had I ignored? Around midnight, I decided to go to the training facility. I needed to clear my head. The building was almost empty. But as I walked past the film room, I heard voices. Coach Bryant and Marcus. I stopped breathing and pressed myself against the wall. "We needed a change," Coach Bryant said. His voice was calm. Matter of fact, the board was pushing for younger players, more marketable faces. Marcus responded, but I could not make out the words. Then Coach Bryant again. He was always going to be phased out. You just accelerated the timeline. Silence. Then the words that confirmed everything. You did what you had to do. My chest felt tight. I could barely breathe. This went beyond just one play. This was organizational. Planned at levels above Coach Bryant. The board wanted me gone. They had chosen Marcus as my replacement. And they had orchestrated my public failure to make it happen cleanly. No questions. No pushback from fans. Just one terrible play that explained everything. I backed away from the door quietly and left the building. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely drive home. But something had shifted inside me. I was not trying to clear my name anymore. I was planning, calculating. If they wanted me erased, I would let them think they had won. Then I would expose everything. I just needed proof. Real evidence that could not be denied. The next morning, I submitted a formal request for full game footage access. As a player, I had the right to review film for personal development. The media manager seemed surprised, but processed it immediately. 3 days later, I received a hard drive with every angle from the championship game. Broadcast footage. sideline cameras, overhead shots, even some fan recordings they had collected. I locked myself in my apartment and started analyzing, not just my play, everything, player movements before the snap, coaching signals, bench reactions. I watched the same 60 seconds probably 500 times. Then I saw it, 30 seconds before the play. Marcus glanced toward the sideline. Coach Bryant made a subtle hand signal. 2 fingers tapped against his clipboard. Marcus nodded slightly. That signal was not part of our system. I had memorized every coaching signal we used. This one was different, new. I rewound and watched it again. The timing was perfect. Coach signaled. Marcus acknowledged. Then Marcus positioned himself exactly wrong when I passed. My pulse was racing now. This was the proof. A clear signal exchange between coach and player right before a coordinated setup. I spent the next week reviewing previous game footage. I requested every game from the past 2 seasons. The media manager asked why I needed so much material. I told him I was working on my technique, studying my progression. He bought it. I was not looking at my plays anymore. I was watching Marcus and Coach Bryant, looking for that same hand signal. And I found it. Game 7 from last season. Same signal. Immediately followed by Marcus making a mistake that cost us field position. Game 12. Same pattern. Marcus fumbled in a crucial moment right after Coach signaled. None of these plays had been catastrophic like mine. They were small, controlled errors that could be explained away. But the pattern was undeniable. They had been testing the system for months, practicing their coordination. My situation was just the biggest execution, the one that would justify everything they wanted. I realized then that I was not the first victim, just the most visible one. I needed to find the others. People who had been phased out before me. Players who left suddenly with vague explanations about pursuing other opportunities or personal reasons. Tyler had been our best defensive player 2 seasons ago. Then suddenly he was gone, traded to a bottom-tier team for almost nothing. The official story was that he had requested the trade, but I remembered him being confused when it happened, angry. I found his number and called. He did not answer the first 3 times. On the 4th call, he picked up. "I wondered when you would reach out," he said before I could speak. We met at a coffee shop far from the stadium. Tyler looked tired, older than I remembered. They needed someone to take the fall, he told me quietly. My contract was expensive. They wanted younger, cheaper players, so they made me look unstable. Started benching me randomly. Leaked stories about attitude problems. None of it was true, but it did not matter. The narrative was set. He paused, stirring his coffee. "I saw what they did to you. Same playbook, different execution." My blood ran cold. "Do you have proof?" I asked. Tyler shook his head. I did not know what to look for back then. By the time I understood what happened, I was already gone. He leaned forward. "But you can still prove it. Find the footage. Find the signals. There's always evidence if you look hard enough." I went back to my apartment and started searching for alternate camera angles. Official footage was controlled by the team, but fans recorded everything now. I scoured social media, fan forums, YouTube channels, anyone who had posted clips from the championship game. Most footage was identical to the broadcast, but then I found something. A fan had been sitting behind our bench with a high-quality camera. The angle showed the sideline clearly. I downloaded the video and scrubbed through it, found my play, watched from this new perspective. What I saw made my heart stop. 15 seconds before the play, Marcus looked directly at Coach Bryant, held eye contact for 3 full seconds. Coach Bryant nodded slightly. Marcus nodded back. Then Marcus jogged onto the field. The broadcast had not shown this. The official footage had missed it completely. But this fan's camera had caught everything. I had my proof. Visual confirmation of coordination between Marcus and Coach Bryant immediately before the setup. I downloaded the file and backed it up in 3 different places. Then I started building my case. I compiled every piece of evidence. The screenshot of the deleted conversation, the hand signals from multiple games, the Tyler conversation, The fan footage showing the pre-play coordination. I started training alone, early mornings before anyone else arrived at the facility. I told no one about my routine. On social media, I stayed quiet, let people assume I was finished, defeated, gone. Rumors started spreading that I was planning to retire, that I could not handle the pressure, that the championship mistake had broken me. I saw the articles. Read the speculation. Let them believe whatever they wanted. Meanwhile, I was in the best shape of my life. Faster, stronger, more focused than ever. Every morning sprint was fueled by anger. Every weight I lifted carried the weight of their betrayal. I was not running away. I was preparing. Then one afternoon, Coach Anderson approached me in the gym. He was an assistant coach who had always been fair with me. He looked around to make sure we were alone. "There's talk of a rematch game," he said quietly. "Exhibition match against the same team. 4 weeks from now." My heart started pounding. And he met my eyes. "Be ready." That is all I can say. Just be ready. He walked away before I could respond. That night, I got a message from the team manager. Practice roster updates. My name was listed for the rematch game. They were bringing me back. Game day arrived like a storm. The stadium was packed. Even bigger crowd than the championship. Everyone wanted to see if I would fail again. The boos started the moment my name was announced. But there was something else mixed in. Curiosity. Tension. People wanted drama. I could give them that. In the locker room, Marcus looked shocked when he saw me suiting up. He had clearly not expected this. Coach Brian avoided looking at me completely, but I saw the tension in his shoulders, the way he gripped his clipboard too tightly. They had not planned for my return. Coach Anderson gave me a slight nod as we headed onto the field. Everything I had prepared for led to this moment. I was not here to play their game. I was here to break it. The first quarter passed normally. Standard plays. Nothing dramatic. Then in the second quarter, Coach Bryant called the formation, the same one from the championship. I felt every muscle in my body tense. They were trying again. Marcus jogged into position. I watched him carefully, saw him glance toward the sideline. Coach Bryant made that same two-finger signal. Marcus nodded. They actually thought I would fall for it twice. The ball came to me. Marcus positioned himself exactly where he had been in the championship. Wrong spot. Setup complete. But this time, I did not follow their script. Instead of passing immediately, I held the ball, read the defense, adjusted my position. Marcus was too far left, which meant a lane had opened on the right. I pivoted and sent the ball to our other receiver. Clean catch. 40-yard gain. Touchdown. The stadium erupted. Confusion spread across the sideline. Coach Brian was yelling something, but I could not hear him over the crowd. Marcus stood frozen, looking panicked for the first time. The commentators were already questioning the play. That was supposed to be Marcus's route. One said, "Why was the positioning different from the championship game?" The seeds of doubt were planted. During the timeout, I signaled to Coach Anderson. Just a small gesture we had agreed on beforehand. He nodded and headed toward the media booth. Everything was in motion now. By halftime, the footage would be submitted. Multiple angles, timestamps, signals, everything I had collected over the past month. Officials and league management would begin reviewing immediately. I just needed to keep playing, keep exposing the cracks in their system. The second half was chaos. Coach Brian kept calling the same formations, but I adjusted every single one. Refused to follow the predetermined outcomes they had planned. We were winning by 17 points. The crowd that had booed me was now cheering. Marcus made 3 consecutive mistakes. Not setups this time. Real errors caused by panic and confusion. Without me following the script, their entire system fell apart. Midway through the third quarter, Coach Bryant was pulled aside by 2 league officials. I watched from the field as they spoke intensely. Bryant's face went pale. He kept shaking his head, denying something. But the officials were not backing down. Marcus got benched, not for performance. The official reason given was precautionary, but everyone could see something was wrong. Whispers spread through the crowd. Social media was already exploding with speculation. By the fourth quarter, the story was breaking everywhere. Multiple news outlets reported that an investigation had been opened. League officials were reviewing footage from the championship game. Allegations of coordinated misconduct. The evidence I had submitted through Coach Anderson was now in official hands. Everything they had built was unraveling in real time. We won the game, but I barely registered the final score. All eyes were on the investigation now. Post-game, reporters swarmed the field. Camera crews everywhere. They wanted me to comment, to celebrate, to gloat. I walked past all of them. Coach Bryant tried to speak to me in the tunnel. I kept walking. Marcus called my name. I did not turn around. That night, the league released an official statement. A full investigation would be conducted into potential manipulation of plays and intentional setup of player failure. Multiple games would be reviewed. Coaching signals would be analyzed. Player communications would be examined. My phone exploded with messages. Former teammates apologizing. Media requesting interviews. Fans who had destroyed me online now praising my strength. I ignored all of it. 3 days later, the investigation results were released. The evidence was overwhelming. Video proof of unauthorized signals. Documentation of deleted team communications. Testimony from Tyler and other former players. Pattern analysis showing repeated coordinated errors. Coach Bryant was suspended indefinitely. Marcus was benched pending further review. The championship game result was being contested. My name was cleared completely. The press conference was packed. Every major sports network was there. I sat at a table with league officials on either side. Cameras everywhere. Questions came rapid fire. How did you know? When did you realize? How does it feel to be vindicated? I waited for silence. Then I spoke. I knew something was wrong from the beginning. That play did not match who I was as a player. So I started looking for proof. I paused. I found it. Multiple instances. Multiple games. A pattern of manipulation designed to phase out certain players and promote others. A reporter shouted from the back, "Why did you wait to expose it?" I looked directly into the camera because I needed to be certain. I needed evidence that could not be denied, and I needed to do it right. Another question. What do you want people to know? I thought for a moment. I want them to know that the truth always comes out. You can manipulate situations, control narratives, make someone look guilty. But if you stay patient and gather proof, you can expose everything. The room was silent. Then I stood up. I am done answering questions. The evidence speaks for itself. I walked out of that press conference and drove to the training facility one last time. My locker was still there, everything exactly as I had left it before the championship. I packed my belongings slowly. Pictures, equipment, memories from 3 seasons. Coach Anderson found me there. "You did the right thing," he said. I nodded. "I know." He hesitated. "The board wants you back. Full reinstatement. Increased contract. Public apology." I looked at him. "What do you think I should do?" Coach Anderson smiled. "I think you should do whatever feels right. You have earned that." I thought about it for a long time. The team that had destroyed me was now begging for my return. The vindication felt good, but something had broken that could not be fixed. Trust, loyalty, belief in the system. I had proven they were wrong about me. That was enough. 2 days later, I announced my decision. I was leaving the team, not because I was finished, not because I could not compete, but because I chose to walk away on my own terms. The media called it surprising, shocking, a waste of talent. They did not understand. This was never about winning them back. It was about proving the truth. 3 months later, I signed with a different team. A fresh start with people who knew exactly what I was capable of. No baggage, no history, just pure talent and proven character. My first game with them was against my old team. Marcus was still benched. Coach Bryant was gone completely. Fired after the full investigation, revealed even more misconduct. When I walked onto that field, the crowd gave me a standing ovation. Both sides, home and away fans, recognition for what I had endured and overcome. We won that game by 23 points. I played the best game of my career. Afterward, reporters asked if I felt vindicated. I told them vindication had come months ago. This was just me playing the sport I loved. But the real question everyone wanted answered was simpler. How did you stay strong through all of it? I thought about the nights I could not sleep, the doubt that crept in, the moments I almost gave up. I knew who I was, I said. They tried to make me believe I was something else. But I knew the truth about myself. That knowledge kept me going. A year passed. My new team made the playoffs. I was named team captain. The narrative around me had completely transformed. I was no longer the player who choked. I was the player who exposed corruption, who stood up for truth, who waited patiently for justice. Young players reached out asking for advice. How to handle pressure. How to deal with unfair treatment. How to prove yourself when everyone doubts you. I told them all the same thing. Document everything. Trust your instincts. Never let others define who you are. The league implemented new oversight policies because of my case. Coaching signals were now monitored and logged. Player communications were archived and protected. Anonymous reporting systems were established for athletes who suspected misconduct. Change had come from my pain. That meant something. 2 years after the championship incident, I was invited to speak at a sports ethics conference. Athletes, coaches, league officials, all gathered to discuss integrity in professional sports. I was nervous walking onto that stage. Public speaking had never been my strength, but I had a story that needed to be told. I talked about the night everything broke, the feeling of being blamed for something that was not entirely my fault, the isolation of having no one believe you, the decision to investigate instead of accept, the patience required to gather proof, the risk of speaking up against powerful people, and finally, the vindication of truth. The room was silent when I finished. Then a young player stood up with a question. What if you had not found evidence? What if it really had just been your mistake? I thought carefully before answering. Then I would have owned it, learned from it, moved forward. But I knew in my core that something was wrong. That knowledge drove me to look deeper. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Do not just accept the narrative others create about you. Now, 3 years later, I won my first championship with my new team. The moment was surreal. Holding that trophy, hearing the crowd chant my name, knowing I had earned every second of it. They thought I was finished when that ball was intercepted, when the crowd booed, when my name became synonymous with failure. But they did not understand something crucial. You cannot finish someone who refuses to quit. You cannot erase someone who knows their own worth. They thought I was finished. They just did not realize I was gathering evidence.